Not bad.
Not bad. I'm not going to play that B string again, though. I'll put it right out of tune.
What we do today?
Well, look where we are. In the presence.
That's not Tim.
That is not Tim.
That's him.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi everybody, welcome to Alvarez TV. We are in a cool place today. We're at Ingram AV.
It's very cool.
Ingram AV's owner, Reed. Reed, thanks for joining us,
No
mate.
problem, thanks for coming down.
It's a joy to come here and just be surrounded by all this lovely tech. So this is where we get our DPA mics from. Reed has been advising us. And we use the Lavalier mics.
6060.
6060. And also we use the 2011A.
A.
Yeah.
2011 A's.
Yes. So we're all DPA.
Quick story, we tried like lots of different mics.
We did.
And we liked the DPAs. And then we rented them from Reed first. And then we bought some from Reed. Then we came here, saw all this lovely stuff. And then got talking about micing guitars up, especially in larger places and all the issues that can bring with feedback and getting tone if you're very demanding acoustic player, and Reed's going to help us.
So I'm an acoustic guitar player and I'm coming along to do a gig. And I want to get the best tone out of my guitar. What do I need to do? What do I need to buy? How do I need to approach?
I suppose it really depends if you're playing on your own or with an ensemble, or if you're playing as part of like a bigger band with like a higher like SBL on stage.
Because that's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's two different things you can go down, different roads depending
That's
on
the
what
hardest
you're gonna
bit,
do.
really.
Yeah.
Because in this setup, we've got these beautiful, very expensive DPAs that clip on the high-end condenser mics, right?
Yeah.
Work great. They're coming through here. There's no feedback. I mean, it's pointed at the mic, and it's still working great. If we throw a drum kit into this mix,
we're
it
going to
all
start
changes,
encountering some
right?
problems. Yeah, it's like these mics in the right environment, they can be the absolute best tool. And then even in another environment, they can be an additional tool, you know, to give texture and things. But if you're going to be like playing with a band, you know, on stage, loud SBL, wedges, you're going to need definitely going to need like a pickup in the guitar, and you know, good quality one to give you that bass kind of, that tone, that like kind of, it's almost like that's your kind of main imprint you're going to need to kind of, so you can hear yourself, and so you've got like a kind of, the sound of the guitar kind of almost like compressed into this kind of
space.
Because they're always a bit of a compromise, aren't they? The pickups in
guitars.
Yeah,
they are. Like you get some very good ones, and you get some like ones you maybe get the ones that come with the guitar, the cheaper end ones.
Do you battle with that? I mean, like,
well, sometimes like when I used to tour as an engineer, you kind of fingers crossed when the jack goes in, they press the mute pedal and be like, what's this going to be like, you know? And then they'd open it up and be like, oh. Or you might every now and then be quite surprised, you know. And some guitar players have like 15 different pedals they're going through to kind of take it back to maybe closer to the sound of the guitar. But that's if you're in a loud situation. If you were like, you guys were doing like a gig together, you know, this is a really nice little setup because you've got a microphone on each guitar picking up the kind of instrument sound, like the close instrument sound, and you've got an additional microphone, like what you can play into and actually use the dynamic and like change the dynamic the way you play.
That's a good suggestion, because I thought you were going to say like you got another microphone with some room in, but you're right. I mean, like how bluegrass bands used to have one mic.
Well, like one Omni mic in the middle of the stage.
They used to come in. So if we were playing together, you could lean into that.
Yeah, for the solo or back off.
Even though you've got one on
there. Change the dynamic.
That's cool. When you were saying, I think it's like a lottery really when you're a sound guy. You think they're going to plug in, what's it going to sound like, what I'm going to deal with. Do you control everything from the desk, so you just tell them to set flat?
Well, because to be honest, the cheaper end pickups are normally the ones with the controls. Yeah. They're normally with the little control, the little 9-volt battery on the top, and they've got, you know, sometimes they're normally the ones that they've got like EQ on. So if you kind of don't want that, what you want is just you want to plug in, and you want it to just sound good and just not have any control there. You kind of, maybe a volume, so they can like, you know, because sometimes people use it as like a mute almost. Yeah. But you kind of almost want it so everything you're getting is like the original source, and then you can then shape it on the console as a sound engineer, because you kind of don't want a signal source that's already been manipulated into something that you're receiving, and then you might be doing the exact opposite of what they've done to it to get it to you.
Yeah. And someone comes along with like a smiley face EQ.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no mid in it at all. It's all loads of bottom end and loads of top.
And then you'll probably start encountering problems on stage like boomy, and
especially with those.
Yeah,
That's the thing, because the relationship between what's happening here and what's coming out of there can be a bit of a nightmare.
But then what
sometimes,
you
can't
do
it?
get is the trade-off of like a not a very good sound is you get bags of level. You know, you can bring that guitar sound up to like the same level as you can bring the keyboard DI without maybe getting feedback.
Right.
And that's something you're not going to be able to achieve in certain environments on stage because you haven't got that like solid sound. These are more about picking up the instrument has its sounds in front of it.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you've got the instrument as it sounds in front of it, plus a drum kit behind it, plus a bass player, plus, you know, audience noise and stuff, you're never gonna get that level. Like, not to say you wouldn't use it in conjunction with something in a very loud situation, but definitely for the more acoustic stuff, you'd have them on their own. But with the kind of higher SPL, very loud stages, you would definitely want to have something in the guitar.
Yeah, without a doubt. And what is it about these particular mics that you think that sets them apart from others? Because I mean, I love them in the studio because they're so incredibly linear.
Yeah.
You know, when we're recording guitars, our sort of, you know, MO is we want that to sound like the guitar. We don't want to EQ
You want to make it sound like that guitar as well.
Yeah. So when you're sitting in front of it, it sounds like this, and it's very, very important for us, isn't it?
Like the microphones we've got here today, like we've got a 4011A, and the 4011 is a cardioid condenser microphone, and then you've also got a 4099 on a gooseneck, and that's attached to the body of the guitar with a gooseneck picking up, you know, the instrument. Chris has got a slightly different setup. Same microphone, 4011A on the mic stand, but then on the guitar body there, we've got a 4018, what's a super cardioid microphone, so it has more rejection from behind. You know, it's got a tighter pattern on your guitar.
Sounds brilliant through this. It sounds like the guitar.
Well, it probably will enable you to get a bit more gain before feedback. But as is this super cardio, but this is a different capsule. This is a 5mm capsule. You've got a 19mm capsule over there. So, and that's like on a different type of preamp. It's on a compact, not a compact, sorry, an MMP preamp. What's a much smaller preamp.
So we're being a bit spoilt here.
Yeah,
because we've got several £1,000s worth of mics on two guitars, but you can still get a good sound. I mean, most people are buying, you know, a £300-400 guitar. It's got one of those things in the side with lots of buttons on, but they want to go out and they want to gig, and maybe they don't really have a sound person even, or a sound.
Yeah, that's probably where the pedals come in more useful, because then you can have more of a control about the sound you're giving.
Sort of shape the tone a little bit.
Yeah, if you're not going to have like, you know, an engineer to working with you and he knows what you want, he knows the sound you're kind of trying to achieve, then that's where the pedals are, because you can then kind of almost, you can get pedals with EQ, high passes, low passes. Like, not talking about effects pedals here, talking about just filters to kind of get it back to being linear, if you like, getting it back to how you want your guitar to sound.
But there's some kind of problems that sort of, especially people in the beginning, would always try and go for a particular sound, don't they? Something with loads of bottom and loads of top, and it sounds great. Yeah. But that, in a live situation, is a no-no, isn't it?
Again, it depends on how stable you can get your sound, because what you want is you want a nice, chunky, stable sound, you know, strong and stable. But, you know, you want that kind of, you want a sound that's going to be, you know, thick, and it's going to give you like a, you don't want any kind of resonance of, you don't want to feel like it's going to feed back any minute, or you don't want to be on the edge of like something happening. You want to feel comfortable on stage and not worried that if you hit a note, it's going to like ring out and then the whole PA is going to like.
That's right. Yeah.
So
it's that low resonance.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Like for instance, today, all I've done to these mics, I've done no actual like EQ apart from literally rolling off the low frequencies, and the high pass in, and that is it. I've done nothing else.
Yeah.
Great.
So
many people you see, or that, you know, especially I remember being a younger musician, you go out, you plug your acoustic in, and it virtually starts playing itself. There's masses of feedback, and you take your hands off the strings and woo, it starts like, that's just too much gain, right? You just got to back things off.
back off, yeah. But again, a lot of these problems aren't actually caused by the front of house PA. They're actually caused on stage or using monitors, because basically people having far too much level on stage, you know. So if you can, one thing to do is basically bring that level on stage down.
Down, so the front of house has got more control, right? Yeah,
because if you're playing acoustic guitars, you're probably not going to have like a big amp behind you, you know. But then at the same time, there's something great about that as well, having that big sound on stage. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off, but you know, I know engineers who've kind of got the bands to kind of come off wedges completely, like just made the wedges disappear from the stage.
And just go straight into IEMs.
Yeah, IEMs, and then there's other things, because you know, an artist might go on IEMs and just feel like not connected anymore. They might not be enjoying it as much because they're not getting that vibe.
I think that's a great point to ask people. If you're gigging and you use in-ear monitors, do you still feel connected as a musician? Do you prefer, you know, wedges, and do you prefer amps behind you and all that sort of stuff? I think I've never used in-ears. I've never played with them. I feel as though I'd feel disconnected.
Well, the new generation of in-ear monitors, the actual, you know, the headphones themselves, or depending on how many drivers they've got, they can be incredibly
they can be massive. You can feel like you're really... They can, But the cheap ones have
almost feel like a telephone, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's also about the actual system that's transmitting to, you know, if you've got a wireless in-ear system. Like you don't need a wireless in-ear system. If you don't need to be walking around the stage, have a wired in-ear system, you're going to get much better sound because it's not transmitting the signal, and then when you transmit that signal, unless it's digital, it's going to get degraded. If it is digital, the trade-off is a little bit of latency on that, and then with it being in your ear, you're probably not going to want digital. Like there's very few digital IEM systems on the market, mainly because it's very difficult to transmit it without any latency. And obviously, you're going to really notice
that
it
would
when
be
it's
weird.
in the ear. Yeah.
When you're hearing the sound slightly
later.
Like talking like a couple of milliseconds, 1.5 milliseconds.
Can we hear that as humans or not? Or feel it, maybe?
Well, I don't know. I think
maybe it's some kind of perception thing. I think it can be noticeable, can't it?
If you're striking the string and that transient is so precise, if you know, you're
expecting it to be there.
Yeah,
it's just
if it's not
slightly
there,
it's a little off-putting.
Yeah.
So in our world, we often get people, because you know when you talk about getting signal, it's often people are using undersaddle pickups.
Yeah.
And they're usually piezo, some sort of piezo strip or crystals or whatever. Many people say have a certain synthetic sound. Some people call it a quack. You know,
it's kind of a certain frequency is enhanced for sure.
And do you know that? Can you get that out somewhat?
So you can scoop. Like it depends as well. Like what gear the engineer's got. If he's got like a modern digital console with parametric EQ, he can probably find that frequency, pull it out, and basically make that guitar linear again. And you're not going to notice that as much. But then if he's got like an older kind of without as much control, he's only going to be able to get so close to that frequency without taking other frequencies out.
Okay.
So then he's basically just essentially turning the volume down at that stage. So unless you've got like a good EQ, you can home in on that frequency, pull it right out, you know, nice and tight. And like, I know what you mean, in guitar, they do have that kind of, you can tell straight away it's...
We call it the quack.
Yeah.
You know, a piezo quack. And as a front of house guy, what's some of your biggest challenges when you're dealing with us sort of musicians and players and...
Attitude.
Attitude?
No.
Surely not.
No, I suppose it's like, if you
Everybody wants to be loud,
turning up at a
maybe.
gig and you want to like, I want to go in there and I want to make this engineer happy today. Like have a guitar lead that works, you know, just basic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like be ready, like when it's your go to like you start sound checking, like be tuned up, like.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? You started there.
Give him or her like a good variety of the way you're going to play during the gig. So give him like, you know, your kind of absolute maximum full throttle stuff. Give him your quietest stuff, so then he can set his gain. Yeah. What's in a point.
No surprises.
Give him live engineers.
Give him, just smash it open, and then it's like red line distortion.
So you get no surprises in the middle of the set or something.
Yeah, just so you kind of even if you say like, this is as loud as I'm going to play, this is as quiet as I'm going to play, and then he or she can decide where he or she sets the level kind of thing.
I think that's good advice, like, because everybody wants everything loud on stage, because you're getting into it yourself. Keeping the volume, stage volume, to a controllable level, and let the people out the front do their job.
Yeah,
I think that's great advice.
It's a compromise though, because you want to have enough of a vibe on stage. You want to be able to hear everyone. You want to be enjoying playing with each other.
Yes.
You know, you want to hear everything that's going on and kind of feel like involved in it, but then you don't want to do that at a point that's going to like affect the front of house mix, where basically this, like I've mixed gigs before where you can literally turn the PA off and it's like the stage is so loud, why am I even here kind of thing. So, but that's like more of a kind of rock and roll kind of, you know, electric guitars, drum kits kind of thing. Yeah. I love the sound of like these guitars, especially going through these mics. You know, it's just it's amazing that you can put the mic on the guitar and it just sounds.
I was blown away. I said this mic. It's not the cheapest mic in the world.
It's not the cheapest mic.
It's about £1,300, $1,500, I think, which is, you know, a lot of money for a lot of people. But the sound, the reproduction sounded exactly like the guitar.
And that's what they're aiming to do. They make the mics like linear, and they go through so many processes being tested and measured. You know, like they don't leave the factory. They're like, every mic that leaves the factory is like a clone of the last mic that left
you
the
said
factory.
that. There's like a master mic.
Yeah, they have like a master mic they measure against, and it's all calibrated, and through the production, they get measured, they get tested. If at any point anything gets changed on the microphone, it gets measured again before it goes back. It goes back and forth.
And you say they could make 100 capsules, and they only maybe the levels are so high for QC that they maybe keep 25
like
or 50.
the QC is so good, you're kind of talking like plus or minus 1 dB. You know, on the that's kind of what kind of level of quality we're talking about. You know, and when you buy a matched pair, they actually pull two of the even closer mics together.
It's not about consecutive.
Yeah, so you won't get serial
numbers.
number like 21 and 23. You might get to serial number 21 and 72, because 72 is just ever so slightly closer.
Okay.
So everyone's like, oh, it's not
So
a
they
matched
measure
pair because the serial numbers
that.
don't match up. But no, it's a matched pair because it's a matched pair, not a matched pair in numbers.
And everything's made in Denmark, right?
Yeah. DPA's Danish Pro Audio.
Okay. Fantastic stuff.
Really great. It's been a good day.
Been a good day, mate. Thank you very much for inviting us. And
it's nice to have some music in the studio.
Actually, we're also developing some new pickups. LR bags, or certainly Lloyd Bags has. He let us try them the other day. So we'll come back with the new pickups when they're ready, and we'll try it against these mics to see.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do an A/B.
That'd be a very interesting comparison.
And then mix them together, seeing what you can like. I'm sure you could work your magic in the studio, doing some.
Do some little A/Bs. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Reed.
No problem.
Great place, mate. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, mate. Really appreciate it.
See you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to watch more videos like this one, click the video on the screen now.